What happens when the final curtain falls on a legend who shaped Hollywood itself? That was the question the world wrestled with when news broke of Robert Redford's passing. For decades, Redford wasn't just an actor, he was an institution, a figure who embodied artistry, independence, and authenticity in ways that few others ever could. His death sent shockwaves far beyond Hollywood. It wasn't just the loss of a performer, but the end of an era, a reminder that even the most timeless icons are, in the end, mortal. But what made this farewell even more unforgettable was one tribute, a single speech delivered by someone who knew him not as a star but as a friend. It was a moment so moving that Hollywood's toughest veterans sat in silence, their hearts captured by words that revealed the man behind the myth. Before we get to that defining moment, let's step back and uncover the story of Robert Redford's life, career, and legacy, and why this farewell struck deeper than most. The shock of his passing was immediate and profound. Though Redford lived into his later years, he carried with him an energy, a vitality that seemed to defy time. To many, the idea of him leaving this world felt unthinkable. Fans who had grown up watching him on the silver screen described the news as surreal, almost impossible to accept. Headlines around the globe carried the same undertone: disbelief. He wasn't just another actor, he was woven into the very fabric of film history. To lose him wasn't just to lose a performer, it was like losing a piece of cultural identity. On social media, the flood of tributes was overwhelming. Clips from his most iconic roles circulated alongside personal stories from fans who had been inspired by his authenticity. People weren't simply mourning, they were remembering moments in their own lives tied to his films. From first dates watching The Way We Were to family gatherings built around his classics, Redford was present in millions of personal histories. His death wasn't only Hollywood's loss, it was the world's. As tributes poured in, one theme began to rise above all the rest: integrity. Redford's name became synonymous with authenticity, a rare quality in an industry built on spectacle. He had been one of the few major stars who never seemed to chase headlines or scandal. While others leaned into controversy or embraced the chaos of fame, Redford valued privacy and substance. Colleagues admired him for his professionalism, his quiet confidence, and his refusal to compromise on the stories he wanted to tell. Musicians, athletes, and even political figures joined the chorus of voices honoring him, but it wasn't just about his success, it was about how he carried himself while achieving it. To fans, he was a legend. To family, he was a husband, a father, and a grandfather who valued the simple things above the spotlight. This duality made his passing feel even heavier because the world wasn't just saying goodbye to an actor, they were losing a rare figure who embodied dignity both on and off the screen. To understand why his absence felt so monumental, you need to look at the sheer scope of his career. Robert Redford wasn't just a face on the screen, he was a force that reshaped Hollywood itself. His journey began in the late 1950s with small television roles, but by the 1960s, he had skyrocketed to stardom with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. His chemistry with Paul Newman was electric, and overnight Redford became a household name. From there, he delivered hit after hit. The Sting confirmed his box office dominance, while All the President's Men proved he was more than just a charming leading man. That film, which chronicled the Watergate scandal, wasn't just entertainment, it was a cultural turning point. Redford's involvement brought credibility and conviction to a story that mattered deeply to the American public. And then there was his work behind the camera. In 1980, he won an Academy Award for directing Ordinary People, solidifying his reputation as a true storyteller, not just an actor. Perhaps his greatest contribution to cinema, though, was the Sundance Film Festival. What started as a small gathering in Utah grew into the beating heart of independent filmmaking, launching the careers of directors like Quentin Tarantino and Steven Soderbergh. Without Redford's vision, countless voices might never have been heard. His career wasn't just impressive, it was revolutionary. But Redford's story wasn't only about his career. What made him so captivating was the way he lived outside of the spotlight. Unlike many stars of his generation, Redford wasn't drawn to the chaos of Hollywood parties, scandals, or red carpet drama. Instead, he often retreated to the quiet of the Utah mountains, finding peace in nature and distance from celebrity culture. For him, the wilderness wasn't an escape, it was home. He built a life there with his family, raising children far from the blinding glare of paparazzi cameras. He once said the mountains reminded him of who he was before the world knew his name, grounding him in ways fame never could. Of course, his personal life wasn't without its struggles, but he kept those moments fiercely private, refusing to let them become public spectacle. In an age where every detail of a celebrity's life is dissected and displayed, Redford's guarded privacy became one of his greatest strengths. Fans respected him for it, and colleagues admired the dignity with which he lived. That duality, being one of the world's most famous men while also one of its most private, gave him an almost mythical quality. He was proof that you could achieve greatness without losing yourself to the noise of fame. This sense of quiet dignity carried all the way to his funeral. The day was unlike any other Hollywood farewell in recent memory. The service was intimate yet profound, stripped of unnecessary theatrics and instead reflecting Redford's love of simplicity and nature. The pews were filled with the most recognizable faces in the industry, actors, directors, and producers whose lives and careers had been touched by Redford's influence. Older legends sat shoulder to shoulder with rising stars, many of whom owed their opportunities to the Sundance Festival. Directors who had built entire careers thanks to Redford's vision nodded in gratitude. Even those who had never met him personally felt compelled to attend, a testament to the gravity of his legacy. The air in the room was heavy with emotion. Some mourners wiped away a tear quietly. Others embraced and shared whispered memories of their time with him. It became clear this wasn't just about saying goodbye to a colleague. It was about acknowledging the loss of a guiding light. The tributes reflected that truth. Family members spoke of the man behind the legend, while industry peers honored his artistry and impact. But as heartfelt as these moments were, the room seemed to anticipate one tribute above all, a speech that everyone knew would define the farewell. That moment came when Meryl Streep, his longtime friend and co-star from out of Africa, stood to speak. The room fell silent, every eye locked on her. Few people in Hollywood had shared a bond with Redford as deeply as she had. Their friendship, born on set and nurtured over decades, carried with it a level of understanding that few could match. She began not with grand gestures, but with a pause, a silence that carried more weight than words. Then, in a calm, steady voice, she painted a portrait of Redford that no headline could capture. She recalled filming in Kenya, how between takes he would wander into the vast landscapes, completely absorbed in the natural beauty around him. Robert never needed the spotlight, she said softly. He carried his own light with him, and it was enough to illuminate everyone around him. Her words cut straight through the room. She spoke of his humility, his kindness, his ability to make others feel seen. She remembered how he once told her, "The work is only real if it scares you a little." That simple piece of advice had stayed with her throughout her career. Her voice cracked when she described his unwavering integrity in a business that often consumes people whole. And yet her tribute wasn't all sorrow. She shared stories of his mischievous humor, his sly grin, his ability to laugh at the absurdities of Hollywood. Tears and laughter blended together as she reminded everyone that Redford wasn't just a legend, he was human. When she finished, she looked around and said, "Robert's greatest gift wasn't the films he left us, though they will live forever. His greatest gift was reminding us that life, like art, is most powerful when it's honest." The silence that followed was electric. Then applause erupted, not in celebration but in gratitude. It was the defining moment of Robert Redford's farewell. But Redford's influence didn't end in that room. His legacy continues to ripple through every corner of cinema and beyond. His films remain timeless, studied in film schools and cherished by audiences across generations. Titles like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, All the President's Men, and Out of Africa aren't just movies, they're landmarks in storytelling. Each one captured the essence of its era while still resonating decades later. His performances had a subtle power, pulling viewers in with every glance and every silence. His creation of the Sundance Film Festival ensured that new voices would always have a platform, reshaping the industry for decades to come. Beyond film, Redford's dedication to environmental activism revealed another side of his legacy. He wasn't just telling stories on screen, he was fighting for the stories that mattered in real life, from protecting nature to advocating for truth. And then there was his personal legacy, carried on by his family and friends. For them, he wasn't a legend. He was a father, a grandfather, and a companion who taught them how to live with purpose and humility. His spirit lingers in their memories, in the laughter of his grandchildren, and in the careers of the filmmakers he inspired. Legends like Robert Redford don't disappear. They echo endlessly. As the mourners left his funeral, there was a sense that they weren't just saying goodbye. They were carrying something with them, an echo of Robert Redford's spirit, a reminder of what he stood for. Hollywood has said farewell to many icons, but Redford's felt different. It was heavier, more personal. Because he wasn't just part of cinema history, he was cinema history. And while death may have closed the curtain on his life, it did nothing to dim his light. As Meryl Streep's words echoed in the hearts of those who heard them, one truth became undeniable. Robert Redford may be gone, but the honesty, creativity, and courage he stood for will live forever. As long as stories are told, his name will remain.